The United Kingdom is the country of choice for most Formula One teams. Mercedes F1, Red Bull, McLaren and most of the others live here in what is a Silicon Valley of automotive technology. So it's unsurprising that with all that talent around, a specialist car manufacturer chose the UK to build a Formula race car. A race car which could be driven legally on the public road. The manufacturer is, of course, the Briggs Automotive Company, better known as BAC, and I'm on my way to meet with one of the company's founders, Ian Briggs, who's going to show the very latest generation BAC mono. Oh, and if I'm feeling cheeky enough, I might ask him if I can go and have a drive. Wish me luck. While we wait for Ian, let's just take a quick look around this facility. 2011 saw the introduction of the Dream. This car, in fact, the very first BAC mono which shook the track day world by being an uncompromising driving machine and one which you could actually drive on the road. Followed by a Gen 2 which came with a raft of improvements, and it's the most common mono today. Not that monos are a common sight, of course. And then this car, the Mono R, broke cover last year. What we have here is an even more extreme car with its ram air inlet system, re-engineered engine and its 340 brake horsepower, which is a record for a naturally aspirated engine. And weighing just 550 kilograms, we have a car with a staggering 612 brake horsepower per tonne. Oh, and following a year 2 collaboration with Pirelli, a bespoke Treveo tyre is produced solely for the mono. The development studio here is where we find the mono everybody is talking about right now. Intended to be unveiled at this year's Geneva Motor Show, the brand new evolution of the mono sits here looking nothing less than completely awesome. Unfortunately, as the Geneva show was cancelled, only a few will get to see it in the carbon, titanium and graphene. But for viewers of this channel, we're having our very own showing. And if I'm not mistaken, Ian Briggs is coming over now to talk to us. So here we are, we're joined by Ian Briggs, one of the founders of BAC. And Ian, what was the dream? What started off this project?
It was lots of things that came at the same time. I was go-kart racing, Neil was doing, I think, Palmer Audi at the time. We both had nice cars, we were doing track days. My daughter was born, so my partner couldn't drive with me anymore. She was pregnant, and then later, obviously, I had a two-seater. I had a Lotus Exige at the time. So I was driving my car on my own all the time, and then when I'd get to the Nürburgring or to wherever I was going, it never felt quite like the go-kart did. It never felt as positive. And I was having a conversation with a team owner at the time, and he said, once you've learned how a car feels from a go-kart, it's only Formula cars that reward you in that same way and respond in that same way, that technique you've learned.
So this is like a Formula car, obviously it's only got a single seat?
Exactly, and that's where the idea for a single seater started. And at the time, Neil and I had an agency, we were doing work for the big car companies. We also wanted to show what we could do if we set the brief. So in the very early days, it was, you know, let's build a few of them, we'll get the car we want, and we'll use it almost like a portfolio of what we're capable of doing.
Well, obviously you have, yes. So we've obviously seen the original car, which was what, 2011?
2011. We started designing the car in 2007. There was 5 of us on the project for 3.5 years.
Right.
And so the first car we launched in 2011, and it was probably early 2012 before the first customer cars went out.
And so now that brings us to, well, this car. This is different to the original one, isn't it? How is it different, and what is this particular model?
I mean, it's different in every way compared to that original car. We've learnt an awful lot. Obviously, it's 10 years later. The clay model for that original car was done in 2008. So it was two years ago before we had a chance to do the redesign. From an aesthetic point of view, we learned a lot about servicing the cars. We learned a lot about access, about maintaining the quality of the car when dealerships on the other side of the world are taking parts off it. For example, the original car had a main body, which is the entire body. If you needed to get to the engine, the whole body came off. And the problem was then, when it went back on, it wasn't factory trained mechanics putting it back on. And so it affected the quality of shut lines at the front, which didn't need to have been disturbed. And so we've learnt lots of things, practical things like that. And also from crash damage, things like that. We've really tried to make each corner now easy to replace.
And can you sell this car all over the world?
Yeah, that was the main reason to do it, to go with a turbo engine. The big challenge has always been emissions. The UK is quite good in that respect, in that it allows small manufacturers to have a slightly lower, the bar's a little bit lower with regard to emissions, but it's not the case in all countries. And so now we've got an EU6D, which is the highest standard in the world, really. So
we can roll this out now, to everywhere now, presumably?
Yeah, exactly. It'll always be on an individual certification basis, so it's not small series or full type approved, but it is capable of going through the individual vehicle approval process in mainland Europe, for example.
Is there a particular difference between obviously the original car was naturally aspirated, this is forced induction?
Yes.
Pros and cons, I mean, presumably it's more energy efficient, emissions wise, but how does it perform with this motor in it?
We've put a lot of work into the way the power is delivered. The car's very light, and it will be easy to overwhelm the rear tyres. We've got over 100 newton meters more torque than the current 2.5, and that in itself had a lot more torque than the original 2.3. So there's no point having all that torque all at once. So we've got a very linear kind of power delivery, which also helps. And the other thing is, of course, because the car's so light, you don't tend to feel turbo lag anyway, because there's only 500 kilograms you're trying to get moving. So even if there is any lag, it's not like the car's not going, because the car's easy to accelerate anyway.
That's a great
and then
point.
the way that the wastegate and the maps are managed, and how they're managed within each gear, you get a normally aspirated feel. It doesn't rev as high, admittedly, and if there was a disadvantage, it's probably that.
Okay.
Having said that, with Mono R, which is the kind of the swan song of the normally aspirated engine, we were at 343 horsepower at 9,000 revs, which is an amazing engine, but that's as far as you can go normally aspirated at 2.5 litre, and here we are now at 330, and that's really the start of it. So there's a lot more power to come in the future, or the potential of it.
So how many newton meters are we talking about here?
It's over 400.
400 newton meters?
Yeah.
What's the weight of the car?
570 kilos.
Wow, so it's lively.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I understand you're taking orders for this particular car now because the original one's running out, series production. When's this likely to sort of land on the dealership forecourt, if I could put it that way?
The first cars are ordered for delivery end of Q2, so beginning of Q3 next year.
2021.
Yeah, so we've got a handful of Ws, we called them, which were the wide chassis, normally aspirated cars. Got a few more of them. We've got the three final versions to build. They're not at the moment. So they're available if someone wants. We've done a red, a black, all visible carbon car, and we've done a white one. They're not built yet, so obviously once they are built, they could be for immediate delivery. Then we're building the 30Rs, which are already allocated. That'll take us to about this time next year. And then we'll be doing Fs, and I think we're up to about 8 or 9 Fs, which is this car. The letters we use as internal designation, because obviously we've always got to talk about something, but this is just a mono. It's the new generation mono. I refer to it as F. I've been referring to it to F internally because it's forced induction for 2 years.
Yeah, you want to be careful, that might just stick.
Yeah.
So, okay, so this is the only example of this at the moment.
Yes.
This is how it is going to be. This is the car.
Exactly.
So I've got to ask you, Ian, I'd love to have a drive of one of these things. Is it possible, do you think?
I'll struggle to get you in a turbo car, but we could certainly get you in a 2.5, a current, what we call fantastic. W. Yeah, no problem at all.
Let's go and do that. So you want to know how my drive in the mono goes? Well, that's in my very next video, so please be sure to stay connected to see what it was like. Click the subscribe button and hit that notification bell, and I promise you I will find the words to describe my driving experience. What's clear to me is that BAC Mono has a bright future. What customers buy into is not just a hypercar, but a lifestyle, a no-compromise driving adventure, one which will take you around the world, make you a track day winner, introduce you to new friends, not least of whom are the team here at BAC itself, and those owners will experience that lifestyle enjoying an amazing vehicle which is unique, being neither a supercar or a super bike, but somewhere in between, yet above both in many ways.
Fancy a look at the Mono yourself? Well, there's a link in the description below, but guys, this comes with a warning. See, if you're like me, once you've tasted the Mono experience, you may want to cash in that pension early and live your life for now, in the moment, with the astonishing BAC Mono.